Hey y'all, it's Cherika B, of course, and we're on another episode of Cherika B Talking because I be talking. And on today's episode, I'm just going to do my commentary or my reactions when I basically listened to the Cam Newton and it was Dr. Cheyenne Bryant's interview. So originally, I don't look at all of the podcasts and everything online unless it's like self development, and most of the people I listen to are much older and some have passed away. So I saw this on a few people's stories and a few people had comments on it, just very vague comments. So I was like, let me just go and check out the video and see how I feel about it. So when I first started the video, I ain't gonna even lie to y'all, I was just like, this video is already proving why I stay out of celebrity business and just like people for their talents. And I don't have interest in getting to know some people personally. You know how my mom used to always be like, some of her favorite celebrities, if she would hear, artists back in the day, she liked people like Janet Jackson and, just really big people. Celebrities had a different definition back then than today because with social media and everything, I think we confuse like popular people or influencers with celebrities. So some people aren't really celebrities, meaning they need to be celebrated. They're just really popular. But yeah, she used to always tell me like she didn't want to meet the people because when she would hear certain stuff, not about Janet Jackson in particular, but just people, the celebrity world in general. So I didn't get it at first, and then the older I got, and I honestly went to high school with a lot of big people. And after high school, I met a lot of people in college as far as athletes and everything, being that I went to an SEC school. And you just know people behind, off the field. You kind of know people a little better. But it made me realize, yeah, I do sometimes just like people for what they do, and there's no need to be in close proximity to them, or get to know who they are. And all too often, you have athletes complain about not being seen as more than an athlete. But let's be honest, there are other avenues and business ventures that will allow some people to stick to what they know. Not saying that he don't know anything about whatever it is he's talking about, but sometimes it's best to stick to what you're good at. Cam is a product of my high school, Westlake, no doubt. He is a great quarterback, and I wanted to be able to continue to proudly boast about that when having friendly football debates with, my friends. But this video, of course, probably shut me all the way up going forward. I said probably, notice I said probably because ain't nobody shut me up for real. But the video, it started off very childish and disrespectful, in my opinion. This lady poured her heart out to give the audience a sense of who she is and where she comes from, ultimately establishing her credibility and to give us an idea of the place she may be speaking from, which was good because this was my first time ever hearing of her. And I like to know who it is speaking because I can discern what can I take from this woman or what can I leave, and this may be fitting because of this circumstance she's been through, but I haven't been through that particular circumstance, so I don't need that part of what she's talking about. And he continuously brought up the fact that her parents were not married and even asked her if she had never seen a healthy marriage, how does she know what one looks like? He mentions that he comes from married parents and even acted as if he was putting her on game with some surface level advice that he says he got from his mom about everyone wanting to find heaven in a person, but nobody wants to go through HE double hockey stick with the person, hell with the person. My thing is, if he comes from such a stable household, not to mention, I believe, don't quote me on this, that his dad is a pastor, why does he have 8 children and 3 baby mamas? Now, I'm not one to judge, but also don't act as if you're holier than thou or better than a person because of circumstances that are out of their control. She can't control the fact that her parents decided to come together and not marry each other, but they had her. The girl literally said that she grew up in the hood, which I'm more than sure he can't relate to, But anybody who grew up in the hood knows more than anything, you get examples of what you don't want to be as opposed to who you look up to and who you would like to be when you grow up. You know, you don't have that many role models. You have a lot of examples of what not to be, and nothing is wrong with that. And for that reason, that's why suburban kids grow up feeling entitled. They feel better than the next man and trying to be something that they ain't. At the end of the day, they end up with children out of wedlock and multiple baby daddies and baby mamas. I even see suburban girls go and test out hood men a lot because maybe they had an uptight dad or a lamer dad that wore the dad jeans and, you know, the little Nikes with all the designs on them. So oftentimes you see these suburban men go out and trying to find themselves and get these baby mamas because it's so much pressure being a black man in America and growing up, being a young black boy, trying to find yourself and trying to fit in with society and the culture. And I think he even mentioned, like, with certain professions, with your profession having effect on how you view relationships and view women. So it's so much peer pressure, and whether you got two parents or not, if you don't have a solid foundation of who you are and who you truly are, you can get lost in the sauce, and you can start thinking you better than people because of circumstances, or thinking that people can't tell you nothing, or people need to learn from you, or you can't take from them because of what they lacked, and you don't realize that you just as screwed up. Now, in my opinion, he always gave entitlement. It shows when he's on the field. It always gave spoiled brat, my way or the highway, and I don't care about nothing nobody got to say because this is my world. And that's what he kind of gave in this interview. Couldn't have convinced me that he was raised in a two-parent household and respected his mama, because it gave a little bit like I dislike women, or I'm a little resentful towards women, or I feel like women should obey me and they shouldn't have a voice, or just listen when I speak, or I ask you a question, answer my question and don't give nothing else with your answer. You know, it gave very, I guess, the little podcasters energy that they have these days. It's like, did your mom raise you, or did those podcasts online raise you? You know, it gave an overgrown boy instead of a grown man. It gave just a big boy. You just a big boy. Some men never become men, and it's normally obvious in their appearance. It's sad to say. First and foremost, why must you blow a cigar in the middle of an interview? Also, he craves attention with his clothing. That's always a dead giveaway for me when a man who doesn't know who he is or whose he is. I knew he was still trying to find himself when he was typing all weird on social media with the big letters and the letters with the streaks through them as if they're crossed out or something. It's just kind of difficult to read his captions. And it gives that he's a little lost and confused. So sad how a man can have like worldly success and still trying to find himself at such a big age. And I think that's just a problem in our community in general. Like, we really need to instill confidence in our young black men at a very young age and allow them to understand their importance and power in a relationship. Women and men both are needed in a household. The mom and dad are both equally important, and they both bring something different to the table for a child. And it's so important to not have all of these different baby mamas and these different children and situations. Even if you financially can't afford them, you are bringing on traumas to these kids that you don't know, because every child is unique and every child has their own personality. And the way they take that abandonment, because believe it or not, when both parents are not in the house, the child wants to know, why didn't my daddy want my mama? Why did my daddy choose this other lady? Why did my daddy have 2 kids with this lady but one with my mama? Like, what did my mama do? Or they start looking at their mama funny. And you just don't want to bring that type of confusion to a child and that extra baggage that's unnecessary if you could just raise them in a loving household, especially if you claim to come from such a loving household and you had that example. Why didn't you follow that example? Now, even when he says, if you've never seen a healthy marriage, how are you able to identify one? That's a very disrespectful question, because a girl like me would answer it like, if your mom is such this wise woman with wise counsel, how were you not able to identify a wife to be the mother of your children, of all your children? But then she would have been wrong, and she would have been disrespecting his mama and whatever else people may have had to say about it, which brings me to the audacity of men with money in general. I know countless men, millionaire men, multimillionaire men, even was very close friends with a few. And one thing I can say is, if a man does not have a solid relationship with God, his money will never be enough, ladies. Like, if you are thinking about being in a relationship with a man, always know that his money will never be enough. I know it sounds very cliche, and at the end of the day, most women are for sale. So for the right price, women are going and willing to start a family and relationship with anybody. But just please, if you don't take anything, please know that a man's money is never enough. And that's part of a reason why a lot of good women, like the doctor that was in the episode with him, are single. Because when you have this, it's so hard to connect with men mentally. They may look good on the outside, but when you sit down and have that conversation with them, a real intellectual woman who knows her worth, we never go far with certain men, with the majority of men, just because there isn't a mental connection. And it just brings me to that famous quote about physical attractions are common, but mental connection is rare. And that is so true. Now, when he asked her in the interview if he was a high valued man just by the personality he displayed, the answer is a firm no for me. First of all, not only is that term irritating and very toxic, it is worldly, and I wouldn't expect the preacher's son to be feeding into it. A high value man is a man who is God fearing, has integrity, morals, and values. That's it. That's all, if you ask me. Using financial status to make a woman feel small is a man who doesn't know what true love is, and to me sounds like a man who didn't have that ideal example of a marriage that he thinks he had. This is no shade. I don't know his parents. I didn't do my research. They can very well have a very healthy marriage, because there's a lot of I know a lot of men that came from great families and they have great marriages on the outside. We never know what goes on behind people's doors and what goes on behind the scenes. So I have a lot of people that I know that seem to have come from great parents, had two-parent households, but they wouldn't have had multiple children out of wedlock. They don't have any intentions on being married. So I honestly don't know how you drop the ball with that, but no matter how well a parent try and raise their children, you're not your children's only influence in the world. So ultimately, parents do their best, and they can't control what the child goes and do on their own. But because a man who is in love could not care less about what a woman does for work, a real man wants to give a woman the world if he can. But I've only watched the first like 47 minutes of the video. When they got into all the terminology, they kind of lost me, because relationships, when it comes to dealing with people, can be complex. But I'm not all into the labeling high functioning and low functioning males and females, etc. But if I do decide to finish watching and I have further commentary, I will come back to y'all and let y'all know what I thought about other parts of the video, because y'all know I be talking. Peace.